Spaceflight news is heating up. SpaceX is actively launching rockets for its Starlink internet constellation and other missions, while NASA is gearing up multiple crewed and cargo flights. SpaceX, Space Exploration Technologies, founded by Elon Musk in 2002 to reduce space transportation costs, has become a launch powerhouse. In early 2026, the company routinely flies Falcon 9 rockets, often recovering their first stages at sea, and streams each mission live to viewers. For example, Spaceflight Now reported that on February 27, 2026, SpaceX launched 29 more Starlink satellites from Cape Canaveral, 42nd Starlink launch overall, and on March 1, 2026, it launched another 29 Starlink 1041 mission as its 22nd flight of the year. Those back-to-back launches brought SpaceX's total deployed Starlink count to over 560 satellites for 2026. These launches underscore SpaceX's pace. By late February, it had already conducted its 25th Falcon 9 launch of the year, the 607th Falcon 9 flight since 2010, and achieved its 580th booster landing. Looking ahead, SpaceX's launch manifest shows more activity. According to launch tracking sites, SpaceX plans a Starlink Group 1040 mission on November 4, 2026 at 6:58 a.m. UTC from Cape Canaveral. This Falcon 9 flight will carry another batch of Starlink satellites, 29 more units, and use first stage booster B1080, which has already flown 24 times. The booster is set to land on the drone ship, a shortfall of Gravitas, ASOG after launch. Later that same day, March 4 at 21 UTC, a second Falcon 9 will launch Starlink Group 17 to 18 from Vandenberg Air Force Base in California. Next Spaceflight lists a watch live stream link for this Vandenberg launch on SpaceX's site. After the Starlink flights, SpaceX's next mission is likely the EchoStar XXV launch, a geostationary communications satellite for Dish Network, currently targeted for March 10, 2026, 0314 GMT. That mission will also use a Falcon 9. These upcoming SpaceX launches are part of a busy schedule. SpaceX operates mainly two boosters of the Falcon 9 Block 5 design, a two-stage partially reusable rocket. Each launch follows a precise countdown. For example, Space Launch Schedule details the March 4 Starlink countdown. At T0:38 minutes, the launch director gives go for prop load and fueling begins. Liquid oxygen fills the stages T0:35 and engines are chilled at T0:07. At T0:45, another go for launch is given. Then at T0:03, the 9 Merlin engines ignite in sequence, and at T+0, the rocket lifts off. About 1 minute into flight, the rocket passes through max Q, maximum dynamic pressure. At roughly T+224, the first stage engines cut off, and stage separation occurs a few seconds later. The second stage then ignites and carries the payload, Starlink satellites in this case, to orbit. It will deploy the 29 Starlink stack at about T+164 minutes. Meanwhile, the first stage begins its return. After separation, the booster performs an entry burn to slow down, then a precision landing burn. On most Falcon 9 missions to SLC-40 or SLC-4E, where boostback is too expensive, the booster lands on an autonomous drone ship at sea. For Starlink flights from Cape Canaveral, it lands east of Florida, and for polar launches from Vandenberg on a barge in the Pacific. Space Launch Schedule notes that B1080 will land on the Atlantic ASOG platform after March 4. In practice, SpaceX has successfully landed hundreds of boosters. For example, the February 27, 2026 flight used booster B1069, which touched down on the ASOG ship east of the Bahamas after deploying Starlink satellites. Similarly, on March 1, booster B178 landed on the Atlantic drone ship Just Read the Instructions, JRTI, off South Carolina. That landing was the 152nd on JRTI and marked SpaceX's 580th booster recovery overall. So, SpaceX often highlights such statistics during live stream commentary. This intensive reuse is the core of SpaceX's strategy. By early 2026, boosters like B1069 and B1078 had flown 25 times each, and new landings continue that tally. What is being launched? The Starlink satellites are SpaceX's global broadband network. Each Starlink mission typically carries around 20-30 small flat panel satellites into low Earth orbit. Space Launch Schedule summarizes the Starlink Group 10 to 40 payload, a batch of 29 satellites for the Starlink mega constellation, SpaceX's project for space-based internet communication. In other words, these launches add dozens more internet satellites to a constellation that already numbers in the thousands. As Spaceflight Now reported, the two Florida launches over February 27 Mariner 1 deployed a total of 54 Starlink satellites, bringing SpaceX's 2026 Starlink count to at least 566 by early March. SpaceX thus remains on track to continue expanding Starlink service worldwide. In parallel, NASA and its partners have a busy launch year ahead. According to NASA's official launch schedule, several crew and cargo missions are planned for 2026. Notably, NASA's Boeing Starliner 1, the first operational astronaut flight of the Starliner capsule, is tentatively set for no earlier than April 2026. That flight will dock with the ISS. Also in the spring, NASA's Cygnus CRS-24 resupply mission, Northrop Grumman, and SpaceX CRS-34 cargo mission are slated for April and May. Meanwhile, NASA's Artemis program is advancing. Artemis 2, an SLS Orion flight around the moon with 4 astronauts aboard, is being prepared for the spring 2026 window. Recently, NASA reported that the Artemis 2 SLS rocket, with Orion atop, had to roll back from Launch Pad 39B into the vehicle assembly building on February 22 to diagnose an upper stage issue. Engineers worked quickly to return the vehicle by the end of February, potentially preserving the April launch window. NASA's press release notes that on February 25, the crawler transporter moved the Artemis 2 stack into the VAB for final troubleshooting so the core stage can return to the pad for the wet dress rehearsal. In summary, viewers should stay tuned for multiple live rocket events. SpaceX often live streams its launches on its website and YouTube channel. The next spaceflight schedule shows watch links for each upcoming launch. NASA likewise provides NASA TV coverage for its missions, whether it's a Falcon 9 boosting Starlink satellites or the launch of Orion on SLS. Enthusiasts will get live feeds of these events. The coming weeks promise frequent rocket action. SpaceX's Starlink and EchoStar missions are on the manifest, and NASA's crew and cargo flights loom on the horizon. The pace of spaceflight right now is unlike anything we've seen in history. SpaceX continues to dominate the global launch schedule, with Falcon 9 launches happening at a frequency that once seemed impossible. Whether you're tracking a Starlink launch today, a Falcon 9 launch today, or looking ahead to the next NASA launch today, the skies are busier than ever. SpaceX, officially known as SpaceX, has fundamentally transformed how we think about rocket launches. What used to be rare headline-making events are now routine operations. A rocket launch today might be followed by another launch tonight, and sometimes even 2 launches within 24 hours. That cadence alone tells you how dramatically spaceflight has changed. At the center of most of these missions is the Falcon 9, the workhorse rocket responsible for launching satellites, cargo, astronauts, and interplanetary probes. When viewers search Falcon 9 launch or Falcon 9 launch today, they're usually watching one of the most reliable rockets ever built. The Falcon 9 is a 2-stage orbital rocket designed for reusability, and its first stage booster is capable of landing vertically after delivering payloads to orbit. That landing sequence has become almost as iconic as liftoff itself. A typical SpaceX rocket launch begins with hours of preparation. When you tune into a SpaceX launch livestream, you'll hear about propellant loading, weather checks, range safety clearance, and the final go for launch. At T-minus 35 minutes, liquid oxygen and RP-1 kerosene begin flowing into the rocket. In the final seconds before liftoff, the 9 Merlin engines ignite in sequence, building thrust until the hold-down clamps release and Falcon 9 climbs into the sky. For many viewers searching rocket launch today live, the most dramatic moment comes about 1 minute into flight when the rocket passes through max Q, the point of maximum aerodynamic stress. Shortly after that, main engine cutoff occurs, stage separation follows, and the second stage ignites, continuing the journey into orbit. Meanwhile, the first stage booster flips around and begins its return to Earth. If it's a Starlink launch today from Florida, the booster often targets a drone ship stationed in the Atlantic Ocean. If it's a West Coast mission, it may land on a drone ship in the Pacific. Watching a booster descend through clouds and land precisely on a floating platform remains one of the most remarkable engineering feats of our time. A huge percentage of SpaceX launches right now are Starlink missions. When people search Starlink launch or Starlink launch today, they're usually referring to batches of satellites being added to SpaceX's global broadband network. Starlink satellites are deployed in low Earth orbit, forming a massive constellation that delivers high-speed internet to remote areas worldwide. Each Falcon 9 mission can carry around 20 to 30 Starlink satellites, depending on configuration. This constant flow of Starlink launches is a key reason the SpaceX launch schedule looks so packed. In many months, SpaceX conducts more launches than entire countries once did in a year. The company has set internal goals to dramatically increase annual launch cadence, pushing toward rapid reusability and minimal refurbishment between flights. But SpaceX isn't the only player in orbit. Many viewers searching NASA launch today are tracking missions led by NASA. NASA continues to work closely with SpaceX through the Commercial Crew and Commercial Resupply programs. Falcon 9 rockets regularly carry Crew Dragon spacecraft to the International Space Station, delivering astronauts and supplies. One of the most anticipated programs under NASA right now is Artemis. The Artemis missions aim to return humans to the moon for the first time since Apollo. Although Artemis uses NASA's Space Launch System rocket, SpaceX plays a critical role in the program, developing the lunar-optimized version of Starship that will eventually land astronauts on the lunar surface. So when viewers look up space launch today, they're often tracking multiple programs simultaneously: commercial missions, Starlink deployments, and NASA's deep space ambitions. When you search SpaceX launch tonight, timing depends heavily on orbital mechanics. Many Starlink missions launch during specific windows that align with orbital planes, often resulting in late night or pre-dawn liftoffs. These nighttime launches create spectacular visuals, especially when Falcon 9 ascends into twilight skies, leaving behind glowing exhaust trails, sometimes called space jellyfish. For viewers in Florida near Cape Canaveral, a rocket launch today is sometimes visible from miles away. Launches from Vandenberg Space Force Base in California offer similar viewing opportunities along the West Coast. Public excitement has grown so much that many residents now track the SpaceX launch schedule as part of daily life. What makes Falcon 9 particularly impressive is its reusability record. Some boosters have flown more than a dozen missions. Each successful landing reduces cost and increases launch frequency. This rapid reuse model is what allows SpaceX to maintain such a dense launch calendar, enabling back-to-back Falcon 9 launch operations. Another major reason for the surge in rocket launch today's searches is live streaming. SpaceX provides high-quality live coverage with onboard cameras, telemetry overlays, and stage separation views from space. NASA Launch Today events are also broadcast live through NASA TV and digital platforms, making access to spaceflight easier than ever before. Beyond Starlink and ISS missions, Falcon 9 also launches commercial satellites for global customers. Communications satellites, Earth observation platforms, and scientific payloads all rely on SpaceX for reliable access to orbit. The diversity of payloads ensures that almost every week there's another SpaceX rocket launch drawing global attention. Looking ahead, the future of Space Launch Today coverage may shift toward Starship, SpaceX's next-generation fully reusable rocket. Starship is designed to carry heavier payloads, support lunar missions, and eventually enable Mars colonization. Although Falcon 9 remains the backbone of operations, Starship represents the next evolutionary leap. For now, though, Falcon 9 continues to dominate the launch landscape. When viewers type Falcon 9 launch today, they're watching a vehicle that has proven itself through hundreds of successful missions. Each launch builds on a growing track record of reliability. NASA Launch Today searches also spike during crewed missions. Astronaut launches generate global excitement, especially when rockets carry humans to orbit. The partnership between NASA and SpaceX has dramatically increased American launch capability, restoring domestic astronaut launch capacity from U.S. soil. The broader context here is that we are living in a new golden age of spaceflight. Rocket launch tonight is no longer a rare headline. It's a recurring event. The combination of commercial innovation and government partnership has accelerated progress faster than many analysts predicted. If you're tracking SpaceX launch live right now, keep an eye on weather conditions, as wind shear, lightning risk, and upper-level atmospheric conditions can cause delays. Launch windows are precise, and even minor issues can trigger holds or scrubs. The incredible thing is how normalized this has all become. A SpaceX launch today might trend on social media for a few hours and then give way to another launch tomorrow. The tempo is relentless, and that's exactly what SpaceX intended to make spaceflight routine. As we move deeper into this decade, expect even more rocket launch today events, more Falcon 9 reuse milestones, expanded Starlink deployment, more NASA launch today missions, and the gradual rise of fully reusable heavy lift systems. The sky is no longer the limit, it's becoming a highway. And if you're here searching SpaceX launch, rocket launch today live, SpaceX launch tonight, Falcon 9 launch, Starlink launch today, or NASA launch today, you're witnessing a transformation in human capability. Space is no longer distant, it's active, it's commercial, it's competitive, and it's accelerating. Stay tuned for the next countdown, because another rocket launch is always just hours away.